Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the EmpowerMAN podcast. It's your boy, Mikey G, coming to you live from the free state of Florida. I'm coming from South Florida, not in Hialeah, where they have named a street after number 45. But I'm with a man who, if he were living down here, would have a street named after him.
Yeah.
It would be at the cross section between Testosterone Boulevard and Second Amendment Way.
Yes.
He is the man who always keeps his beard nice and trimmed. He wears a hat because he wants to, not because he has to. He is our friend. He is the patriot, the parent, the champion of the Second Amendment, my boy and yours. There is only one. God help us, Greg A. Tedora the first. Sir, how we doing this Thursday?
Good evening, Mike. Thank you for the intro. Glad to be here. And pretty important episode.
It is. It is. We got some interesting stuff going on here today. This is number 30.
The big 3-0, man.
The big 3-0. And Greg, why is this important?
You know the actual percentage, but I think 90-something% of podcasts don't make it to episode 30. And I'm grateful we're at 30, but I'm more grateful that we're actually growing. And we have a lot of stuff coming. 2024 is going to be the EmpowerMAN year. So looking forward to it.
It really is. And after last night's debate, I think we all got a taste of what the Republican debate, I think we got a glimpse of what they're going to be offering as an alternative to what's going on currently. Trump had a rally down in Hialeah, about an hour south of me here. So, hence the street reference in the beginning of the intro for those that did not reference it. Greg, what were your overall thoughts on the debate, if you had a chance to see it? And has it helped shape anything different for you? Or
no, listen, I caught the highlights. I did not watch it, and I haven't actually watched the news in like 2 weeks. I don't care anymore. I don't give a shit. I'm taking care of my house. Like we spoke about, I'm getting everything in order here. And I just think the whole political spectrum in this country is complete garbage. We need a complete reset. I don't trust anybody. I think, listen, the Democrats are great at what they do. You say it all the time. They stick together no matter what. Even when they're dead wrong, they stick together. The Republicans can learn a little something from them, in my opinion, because they just bicker amongst themselves and they just can't get out of their own way. And I just think this country's headed in the wrong direction. I don't think it's going to turn around. So I'm just making sure me and my peeps are okay.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do. And I think that's a great approach. I think we all need to do that as men, making sure our house is in order, because we don't know what things are going to look like a year from now, which is why you said it earlier. 2024 is the year of the EmpowerMAN. Yeah. And we're gonna take our lives back into its fullest. Next week will be our special Veterans Day episode. To those that are listening that have served, we always say this, but thank you. With Veterans Day being Saturday, we'll be releasing another episode next week, and that'll be our Veterans Day episode where our good friend Chris Cadigan will come back on, and we'll discuss some things that I know you and I we love and we care about. So thank you to all those that served, policemen and women, firemen and women, EMTs, and thank you for keeping our municipalities and our localities safe and sound.
Absolutely, and thank you to all the military personnel out there, their families. Stay safe out there. It's we have to bring America back. I mean, listen, I'll go right into it. The wars, in my opinion, are a joke. It's a big money scheme, and I don't know if you know this, but since we withdrew, that horrible withdrawal from Afghanistan, guess how much money we've given that country? Just take a guess.
More than 100,000.
11 billion. That's to Afghanistan. And think about all the billions to that shithead in Ukraine or wherever he is. And what's going on, all this money out, which we're paying for in our taxes. So all the money going out. Meanwhile, literally every single dollar of that should be spent here, should be spent on defense, border, infrastructure, jobs, our own people. We should be drilling here. We need to shut it down here, in my opinion. Shut it down.
Well, we need to clean house.
It'll never happen, but that's what
Right.
needs to get done. I mean, just think about the hundreds of billions of dollars going out when we can really use that here at home.
Mm.
And I
It's
think
funny.
bad things are coming in the horizon. I think there's going to
I
be
do too.
problems across the board. There's going to be multiple terrorist attacks. It's all coming.
Right. Which
It's
is why
inevitable.
the men need to empower man, the year of the empower man. And you say it. I agree with you 100%, Greg.
Yeah.
I know people laugh at us for being conspiracy theorists or whatnot, but
Yep.
when times come and they're a little challenging, they're going to
Mhm.
be calling people like us, like we talked about.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
you prepared? Protect your family and
Mhm.
whatnot. And Greg, with that being said, we want to check in on the update of Forever Progress. How is that going? Let the audience know where they can reach you, contact you. Just
Yeah,
give us
man.
an update on what's going on.
Appreciate that. Forever Progress, I open the doors to the public. It's for all newly licensed real estate agents as well as experienced. It's really the mindset focus of improving your business. And there's, 4 fundamental beliefs that I teach in the course. And if I was a new agent looking back, this is why I did this. This is needed in this space. There's nothing that compares to it. There are real estate coaches out there. I know a lot of them. I've taken their courses, which some of them are great. I'm not knocking that. But you can't just jump into that mentally as soon as you get your license. You have to get your brain right in order to successfully do a lot of the stuff that they preach. And that's where this missing link, I think, has been. And so I'm bridging the gap there. So thank you. Check it out, foreverprogress.com, and check the Instagram out as well. And hit me up if you have any questions.
Now we have people that listen to us all around the world. Is it
Yep.
just strictly here in the U.S. or do you go
No,
abroad? Yeah,
I'll go
everybody.
anywhere. I'll go anywhere. I'm on an amazing platform. It's by Jadari. I'll give them a plug. It's basically all the social media platforms had a baby, and it's you can log in, you can speak to other agents, you can speak to me personally. I do my weekly calls on there, so it's a completely open platform where you can collaborate. It's like a living, breathing thing with other agents all across the country, anywhere. And you can, share great ideas, success stories, your wins and your losses, because we all learn from that as well.
That's right.
And you can message me directly on there and obviously log into the calls. And people aren't aware of this, but a lot of the real estate coaches are very expensive. And so I wanted to make it the barrier of entry, especially for new agents, because a lot of them, let's be honest, you're not making any money when you get your real estate license. So I know money is tight. So I catered it towards that. And basically my first tier membership, it's less than a cup of coffee a day. It's less than $3 a day. So check it out. It's
Well,
well
yeah,
worth it.
and it's an amazing reference, especially when you're working on a commission based and you don't have
Absolutely.
the mentorship. The fact that you've been able to provide that to everybody is really huge. So
Absolutely.
kudos to you, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you want the 2.0 version of yourself to be better. Everybody wants the results without putting the work in. I'm going to help you mentally prepare to do that work, which I'm going to be honest with you. I've worked for all the major companies. I'm not knocking them, but at the end of the day, they do not care about you. They just want you to do your deals, keep the machine going. They don't care about your growth and your mindset and your vision. My ultimate goal is to make everybody self-sufficient where they can pick up their business. Number one, they can go anywhere they want. They can work for any company they want, or even better, you can open up your own company. I want everybody to be successful and totally independent and not be at the mercy of these big real estate companies, which are all the same.
Which is a really crappy feeling to be at the mercy of someone or something.
Of
So
course, of course.
that's really great that you, no pun intended, empower people through
Yeah,
your coaching platform, which is awesome. And I look forward to hearing more about it because I think it's a great service. And to have, like I had said earlier, to have you at a modicum of what it could be,
yeah,
for any new agent, and to have that resource is tremendous.
yeah. And real quick, why everybody can relate is because I'm straightforward. You know this. I'm down to earth, but I've done all of this. I've experienced getting my license and being thrown to the wolves, and I know that gray area where you're almost like treading water to survive because you don't know what to do. Well, here's where we're going to throw you a lifeline and I can help you out with that based off my experiences. And if I can teach people to, take less time making mistakes from my own mistakes so
Mm.
they don't make them and they can, progress to the next step and make more deals and make more money, then more power to them. That's why I want to do this. It's like giving back in a way.
That's awesome, and
Yeah.
it's one thing that I preach to people: people over profit, because profit
Yeah.
will come. So, and you're doing that simply with
Yeah.
your business.
It's not for the money. Obviously, when you see my prices and then go to other real estate coaches, I want everybody to go to all of them. Some of them are 1,500 a month, more than that, 3,000 a month. I mean, my first tier I think is $49 a month. You're not finding that anywhere, especially with the value add and the platform that I'm on. So I'm proud to say that.
And with the experience that you bring
Yeah.
to the table,
Yep.
you're not going to get that. So that's
Hmm.
awesome. Foreverprogress.com.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And Greggy T, that we're going to segue into tonight's topic, which
Hmm.
you could probably relate to in the world of real estate, because you have a lot of them, right? You have real estate agents that are very prideful, that won't accept
Hmm.
help. Then you have those that are egotistical, that don't,
100% right.
and as men, we follow that, like, I'm a very prideful man. I won't ask for help, or I won't need, and then have an ego, and you walk
Mhm.
that fine line between being cocky and arrogant, and
Yeah.
then being humble. Greggy T, so it's an inner battle. What do you think the difference is between having pride in yourself and
Mhm.
being egotistical?
I think everybody needs to have pride in themselves. You and I preach this all the time on many of our episodes. You got to believe in yourself. A lot of people, you'll go to the casino and bet on black or red, or you'll go to bet on a horse or whatever. But very few people bet on themselves to win. And you need to be able to bet on yourself. And in order to do that, you need to have confidence and pride. They come together. I think it's a great characteristic to have pride, and it goes in many tiers. Your pride in your appearance. You want your teeth brushed, your hair done, all these things, and you learn when you're younger, but you want to present a certain way. Look good, feel good, they say, right? You want to present well, and then physically and personally, and then that will translate to family, friends, and career, job, business, corporation, whatever. So I think it's great. You have to have pride, and then here comes the ego, which it's a tough balance, like you mentioned earlier. But I think having an ego is okay to a certain point if you can back it up and you're not over the top with it. I
Mm.
think it can enhance your pride. But once you cross that line, the hate comes, and you're actually going to be counterproductive. You're going to be looked at the wrong way, and it can actually hurt your business and your relationships.
Yeah, no, I mean, you answered that perfectly. I
It's
think,
because I've done everything wrong. That's why we've all done it. I have great pride, but I've also had an ego, and it's ruined a lot of things, and it's caused problems in other areas. And like we say, as we get older, you tend to see things a little bit differently, and you can step back through a different lens and realize you're being an asshole or a dick, and your ego's too big. And like you mentioned earlier, when we were younger, I was too egotistical to ask for help. And then as I get older, I'm okay to ask for help because two minds are better than one. We don't know everything. We always got to be constantly learning. And if I had asked for help earlier in my career, maybe it would have sped things up in a good direction and a good speed.
interesting observation. That's very interesting.
What about you?
To me, well, I think there, somewhere along the line, we got to seep in, I think, confidence. Like, where does confidence fit on that pride ego line, right? Because it's,
Mm-hmm.
you could have a false sense of self confidence with your ego based upon the perception that you're creating for people.
Yep.
You want to present, like you talked about, brushing your teeth, your hair, looking presentable, but in that presentation can become of an egotistical thing on both men and women.
Yep.
Can do that, and the appearance, or what appears to be in the rear view mirror, doesn't always project itself as it gets closer. So I think somewhere along the lines, for me, I think um, being egotistical in certain parts of my life have been a detriment because it created a false narrative, and then you
Mm.
kind of fall into that trap and you kind of live it. Like being in wrestling, when you pretend to be somebody because you love that character so much or that persona that you're trying
Yeah.
to get out there, but you really hate yourself. I'm the king of self hate. I've done everything wrong because I hated myself. And now that I love myself, I look back on it, all the things, even the times that when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I start seeing a life coach and start understanding,
Hmm.
oh, now I'm getting confidence. Now let me use that to my advantage. And that again was a confidence ego, paradigm there along that line. So
Yeah.
I think being prideful in
Hmm.
your work and in what you know, with being prideful, I feel it is an honest, concerted effort to really, kind of bring to life what you're passionate about.
Yep.
Like if I built a house, man, I'm going to be proud I built it with my bare hands. Or if I built a company or I built my business, yeah, I built that. I had help, but man, I was in there and I'm very proud of the product. Like for my business, I'm very proud of the product that I put out there because I know everything I do comes from a good place. And it's for me, it's God centered. Everything focuses around just doing the right thing.
Hmm.
I just had a conversation with someone earlier. We were talking about things that look, I'm not $1 million corporation yet. But I believe in doing the right thing and doing the right thing by people. And I do things that maybe are unorthodox, but at the end of the day, when you're led by a moral compass that might be different from others, you tend to put people first, and people see that and they appreciate that.
Couldn't agree more. That was well said. And you brought up moral compass, and I think that ties into what you were saying. When people do things for money first, it seems like it's a longer road and a longer battle to the end result. If you just do things that you're passionate about, and like you said, you might do things a little differently than other people, but if it makes you feel good and it's organic to your brand and your messaging, why not? And you're a good example. I mean, you started from nothing and you built your company and you're scaling really well. I mean, year over year, growth, 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 growth. Doing something right.
I don't know. Maybe because of my hair. I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to go. I mean, a little. You start to see some bald spots right there, but it's really bad. They started to get grays on the side. That's the
Don't even start, man. I got salt and pepper
thing.
beard already. I feel like I'm 90.
Yeah, and as and a retort to what you told me, like you have built companies and you have grossed a quarter of a billion, right? It was a billion
Yeah.
so I mean, like you have produced for companies that you've worked
Mhm.
for in a
Yeah.
lot of these upscale areas. You have over delivered
Yeah.
for people, and that speaks volume of your character and the pride that you have in your work, which will obviously translate over into your new endeavor.
Yeah.
And whoever gets to work with you will experience that as
Yep.
well. Greg, how has pride hindered you?
Pride has hindered me when I put a wall up where I feel like I'm too good to ask for help or do something differently, and I just I just feel, when it's falling on your sword, it's okay to do that. We all should do it. And it's all comes down to what you and I spoke about before, like communication. And you have to have a good group of people around you, family, friends, to do that. An example that just quickly came to my head. You know this. I'm a really good shot. I shoot all the time, all my guns, and I took a course up in West Point. It was invite only. It was like some special forces guys and some SWAT team, and it was me. I was the only civilian, and I went in there super ego. Like I know I'm good. I know I'm fast. I want to learn from guys that do it every day, and I got my shit handed to me within the first 5 minutes, and that's where the ego check was a good thing because I learned a lot of holes in my game that need to be plugged, and they were not afraid to tell me that. Now I wasn't cocky or anything, but I'm a big guy, so right away there's always a target. Like, oh, here comes this guy, and blah blah blah. I have the gear and I have the weapons, and then when we're running the training and the courses, I'm getting jabbed in the back by another guy. He's like hitting me with the butt of his gun. And he's like, "Go, motherfucker!" And I thought I was fast, and I was like a turtle in that range. These guys smoked me at the end, and I took it as I should. At the end of the day, they respected me because I kept my mouth shut and I learned, and I swallowed that ego real quick. And I do not have an ego when it comes to that anymore because there's always a bigger bear. There's always somebody faster. There's always somebody better. And you know what? Being the age I am now and all the experiences, I want to learn from that better person. So then I'm on their level, and then I want to learn from somebody better and better
Right.
and better. So when I was younger, I was not like that, but these lessons come quick when you're older, and you have to be open to it because your ego will get you checked real quick.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned certain things about about the work and whatnot. And I've always under the maybe it's part of my anxiety or part of my fear. There's always someone out there working harder than you, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want that. That's why I get up early, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm asked, "Well, you work a lot." I'm like, "I do. My day starts at 5 a.m. almost every day,
Yeah.
and ends sometimes at 8 o'clock." And I just at this phase of my life, as we are in our mid 40s, we have a certain window, I believe, left. I mean, you look back, we worked younger, but we worked really dumb. Like,
Pretty
because
much.
you work your butt off, and then it's like, well, I just work a 12-hour day. I want to drink. I want maybe
Let's
two,
go to Miami.
maybe three, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm just done. And
Yeah.
working for somebody is great. When you work for yourself, it's different. You're
Yeah.
stepping into that now, and you realize you're going to probably have to work 6, 7 days a week just to get it going.
There's
You
no off
know,
days.
no off days when you
Holidays
work
are
for yourself.
weird, nights are weird, weekends are weird. I mean, I'm used to the weekends being in real estate because the weekends are when you turn it on. You're out there
Gotcha.
with, Sundays are like our Monday, a normal person's Monday. So there's just no off day. But, when it's your own thing, it means a little different. And, everyone wants that, but not everybody's made for that.
Or willing to put the work in. I think it,
Exactly.
it, it comes easy.
I heard a great quote to you want the finished product, but you don't want to do the work. And it just doesn't work like that. It will
Yeah.
never work like that. I don't care what industry you're in. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And it's a microcosm of society. I think that over the last 2 or 3 years, the work
Yep.
ethic I think has changed. It's different.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I know for me, I was always afraid to ask for help because I didn't want to feel stupid.
Of course.
And I
Same
wanted to
here.
figure it out. I wanted to figure it out for myself. And then I ended up
Mhm.
like you saying, shoot, I wish I would have asked somebody for help. Now I mean, I ask people for help, often, especially when I don't know, especially, running your business, like hiring a great accountant that I just hired. And
Yeah.
I'm asking all those questions I don't know. And experience is the best teacher. I don't care what anybody says. You
I
and I can
agree.
sit here and talk about our shortcomings and our successes and our
Mhm.
losses and our wins. But for anyone out there, you got to go through it. It's simple as that. You got to go through
Absolutely.
it.
I that's well said. I
You
agree.
got to go through it. And Greg and T, you mentioned we talked about ego for a little bit. Is having an ego? Elaborate a little bit more. How can having an ego be a good thing? How can that help your performance?
I look at it as, when I was younger, when I was super young, I was a swimmer. We know this. I started swimming at
Yeah,
7, and by 8, I was one of the fastest kids in New York. And I was like traveling the country and doing swim meets, stuff like that. It was great. And the ego is a positive when you can control it. So, like when I'm going into a big meet and I know some of the competitors I'm going to swim against are some of the best in the area. Having that ego helps in that, where you're like, okay, well, I'm also the fastest and they're coming after me and my time. And I've done this before, I can win again. So when you use it for fuel, and this can pertain to business as well, it could also pertain to relationships. I think when you use the ego for fuel for an end result, I think that could be very powerful if you can use it right. When I didn't when I was younger, I had it, and then when I was swimming older, I took a couple of years off to play other sports, and in that time gap, a lot of the people that I was beating, they stuck with swimming only. So when I went back to swimming, I was not where I was. So when you leave number 1 and then you come back a couple years later and I'm like not even top 10, that'll crush your ego right there. And then
Of
you have to
course.
control it in the opposite way as well, where you don't want it to let it spiral and depress you and get you all fucked up in the head. So that's the other side of ego when reality hits you in the face and you're like, well, I can't complain because I took a couple of years off. These people stuck with it. 3 years is a big deal, and now they're doing really well. So, you have to control your ego. And then I had a great swim coach growing up, very mental, and I wasn't ready mentally to harness that. Some of my friends did, and they went to the Olympics, won medals, like it was great. And I didn't get what he was doing until I was older.
Mm,
Unfortunately, everyone's different.
mm. Right.
And when I started lifting weights, I was always confident in in my abilities and I hit goals pretty quick because I would use what he taught me in the weight room. So it's a weird comparison, but I think you can use ego to your advantage.
No, that was very well put. That was very well put. And use it to your advantage and not let it engulf you, right? You don't want to be
Yeah.
so absorbed in
There's
your
another side of
ego.
it. We're looking
Right.
at one side. There's another side to it, and it can really. And we've known people that sometimes you can't come back from that.
Yep.
It's tough.
Both guys and girls, because
A
girls are
hundred
not,
percent. Yeah. This is a human
infallible when it
thing.
comes to this. It's a human thing. It's all a
Yeah.
human thing. So,
Yep.
Greg, how do you tame that beast? How do you tame that ego? How do you keep yourself in check?
I think having a good for us group of boys around to check you
Yeah,
if you're being an asshole, if you're being a little over the top, like your boys
yeah,
will be like, you need to reel in a little bit. That's not cool. And when you listen to feedback from how you are and if you're keen to it, then you'll know when, if you asked what's my reputation, or if you think about what's your reputation and it's not good, maybe you should think about that.
yeah. I laugh because you said something, and there's a certain bald-headed individual that's in our circle that would he said I'd tame the beast. Oh, that he would tame that beast by putting me in a cab, not because I wanted to. And he would throw me in a cab and send me home. And it was so quick that my feet wouldn't even hit the ground.
Well, that same individual carried me out of a club in Vegas, and you were there for that.
I was. I
Yeah.
was. Yeah, yeah, that was good times. So
Yeah.
we hope he's listening to this one, but I
He's a
just thought of that.
he's our moral compass no matter what's going on. He will set us straight.
Yeah,
If we're off track, we're going to get on it real quick and he's going to put us there physically.
yeah, and we'll just call him Phil. We'll just say his name is Phil, just a hypothetical, right?
Tied up by Phil.
Yeah. Phil is the closer. When stuff happens, Phil always made sure that things, and you need a friend like that. And it's a great point, and we bring it up because we're joking about it because it's happened. But I think everyone needs a friend like that just
Of
comes in
course.
and closes it. Like, yo, STFU, get out of here. You're acting like a jerk. Or like,
Yeah.
Greg, what are you doing, dude? Like, seriously? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more like, hey, hope you don't mind me telling this. Phil just comes in and just slams
Sometimes
dunk.
that doesn't work. You just got to pick somebody up and get them out.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And then buy him Cucamonga wings from Outback the next day and laugh about
Yes.
it. Oh, Greg, one thing that we've always heard about was that term swallowing your pride.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a hard thing. I don't like doing it at times because
Yeah.
we all have that pride. And is swallowing your pride a good thing?
I don't really look at it as good or bad. Sometimes it's just a necessity. You just got to do it. Sometimes I'll just relate it to real estate. Everyone's gone through this, top producers. This is one of the big questions I get all the time is, not did you get every listing appointment you went on? No, nobody does. I might have a high percentage of close rate, but I don't get every single one. And I can think about a bunch that I absolutely gave the best performance. I crushed it. I had all my numbers. I had all my marketing. The interview couldn't have went any better. And I walked out of there. I'm like, I got that. There's no way. And you get the call. They went with somebody else. You got to swallow your pride. But my point is, as long as you are okay with losing it, you didn't leave any stone unturned, and you did the best performance you can, and there's not too much you can take away learning to do better next time. What are you going to do? All you can do is just swallow that and move on to the next. It's a numbers game.
When you were working for someone, when you were working for a company, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how did swallowing your pride help or hinder, you know, your experience at work? Was swallowing your pride something that was like, oh, I'm just not going to speak up because I don't want to deal with it? Or did you like, shoot, I wish I would have spoke up? Like, how, is swallowing your pride at work a good thing just to kind of stay in line, or you think it's situational?
I think
How would
it's
you?
I think it's situational. That's a tough one because you battle with you want to speak up, right? But if you speak up, now you're the squeaky wheel. We all know what happens to the squeaky wheel when you have
Right.
bosses and owners that don't give a shit about you and only care about the bottom line. They don't want to hear that. Now you're high on the totem pole of being asked to leave because a lot of these people want echo chambers. They just want to hear their dumb ideas and they just want yes, 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 men. And that's it. Even though it's dead wrong and a better way that could actually save them more money
Right.
and make them more money. They don't want to hear it because their ideas are the best. So
Right.
it's a tough battle because you want to speak up. And I've done it both ways. I've kept my mouth shut and I wish I spoke up. And I've also spoken up and things happen.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. How is
Mm.
swallowing your pride effective or non-effective in relationship with the opposite gender?
It's the same thing. Um, you have no choice, Let's just say when I was I always dated older. We know this.
Mm,
And so there was, God, I think I was 20. I don't remember. But there was an individual at the gym, and don't date where you work out. Anyway, that's a disclaimer. But there was a young lady there that was significantly older than me. And I, being, pretty much not young and cocky, but, with a confident, with the ego and borderline cocky. Hey, you want to go out? Want to go to dinner? No. Whoa, that's rare. That was a rare thing. And I was like, what? I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't let it derail me. So
Ha!
I was persistent. And it took almost 2 years for her to go out with me. Or a year and a half, something like that. But when we went out, we ended up dating for a long time. So you can't now if you took your ego the other way and got, if you were a dick or you were like, oh well, whatever, like, and then got angry or there's nothing good coming out of that. So you gotta keep it in check.
Now, was it like Top Gun with Kelly McGillis and Tom Cruise? Did you show up on your bike and like was she doing the whole like
I didn't have a bike
lieutenant?
it was
Eh,
before I had my motorcycles.
mm.
Yeah, but oh, that would have been awesome. She would have liked that. Yeah.
Top Gun, arguably the greatest movie ever. I mean, it's
Yeah, I
my
mean,
favorite.
maybe that's why. I mean, that was what, 84. We were what, 6?
Yeah, 85, 86. It was at the height of the Cold War, I think, and I was like 8, I
All
think.
right, so
Yeah,
we were 8. So I mean
yeah,
that shaped a lot because I mean, I always wanted to date teachers and I was always going the other way.
yeah. Hey, listen,
Eh,
I'm with you on that one. And you can still laugh at this. So recently, I was talking to a friend.
mhm.
We'll say that, and we were talking about why we would never work again because it's my ego. Because once I'm very guilty of this, right? Once, girls always put guys in the friend zone. And then, with guys, okay, you want me to be your friend? Okay, cool. No problem. I'm your friend. And I think they expect you to like be persistent on it. And I didn't. I was actually a friend, you know.
Mhm.
And over the weekend, I had a conversation and she'd asked me, why wouldn't we work? Because we are a lot alike. It's really crazy, the similarities. It's really crazy. And she's a tremendous human being. She's awesome. She's younger than me, which is different. But she's really got her stuff together. She's phenomenal, right? And I say, it's not going to work with butt heads. But she made a point, and this is the point I'm getting to. She's like, you've never really had anyone challenge you before. And I thought about that.
How does she know that?
I don't know, but I just threw my arms up. I was like, you are absolutely right, because the challenges I had before were absolute train wrecks, because you felt like you had to like save someone or prove yourself. I mean, the situations I've been in, right? And she was right. She was spot on. Like there was no. I mean, I threw my hands up. I was like, you're right. I've never really been challenged before, in a good way, not in a bad way, in a good way. And even one of my clients and I had a conversation, because one of my clients she's just awesome. Her and her husband, they have an amazing family. She's like, relationships are work. You got to work at it. You've told me that, other people haven't. I'm like, if it's not going, I'm like, F this, I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm so quick to close the door. Like, hey, I'm done.
Remember how quick I was?
Yeah. And now that we're older, so that door shuts real quick. I'm like, okay, burner plate, pick it up. Just like, it's real quick. Like you won't even know the door's shut. It goes so fast. But, when someone doesn't call you out on it, but when someone brings it to your attention, if you're open to self-awareness and if you're open to growing, I took that as a tremendous, like, whoa, like there's something special about this person. There's something cool about this person that I've never heard that before. And it kind of like you said, like your friends call you out on certain things. I think when someone of the opposite gender who, or same gender, whatever your preference is, in this case, it's going to be girls for us. When someone says that to you, that's pretty impactful. And I think, the book of James talks about be quick to listen, slow to respond, slow to become angry. And I think we got to take the first part of that. As men, we got to be quick to listen. We can't just be ready to jump down someone's throat. We got to really listen. And it's crazy, right? I was never like that.
Still working on that.
Oh, yeah.
Still working on that.
As we say, it's all situational.
I was just talking to my mom about this actually yesterday. It's funny you say that.
Isn't it crazy? It's crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. And I think, swallowing your pride in certain ways may not be a bad thing, but if you're open to it, it can be an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Here's one for you, Greggy T. How do you let go of your pride and ego during a disagreement? How are you separated?
You just got to make a decision. Is it worth it? Not giving in. I don't mean giving in the argument, but just during a disagreement, and it's okay to disagree. Everyone it's not everybody's the same, but are you continuing? Is the disagreement even a disagreement only because of your ego? Let's start there. Maybe it doesn't even exist. Maybe it's not even that big of a deal. It's just your ego that's continuing it on. If your ego wasn't there, this probably wouldn't even be a conversation.
Right.
So, and having the last word is part of the ego. And sometimes it's better to just take a step back. And I'm a fan of, let's take a breather. Let's take 5 minutes apart and then
it's a great technique.
Reconfigure. And sometimes it's like, how many times have I said it or you said it? What are we even arguing about again? I forgot. Right there, it's a fucking waste of time.
Right.
So it's probably just like ego or, your subconscious there just wanting to win when it's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Like, is it even worth it at the end of the day? Is it that big of a deal? If it is, continue. But if it's not, let it go.
Yeah.
It's just silly. Silly.
Yeah, I agree. I think during a disagreement, it's really going to come down to the lens of how you look at things. What
Yeah.
is how do you perceive things? How do you perceive the world? How do you perceive yourself? How do you perceive people? And
Mhm.
again, it comes back to being quick to listen. Maybe you're wrong. I know I'm when I'm wrong, I admit it. Hey, I'm sorry, but I'm also when I'm right, I don't back down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there becomes a double-edged sword where do you swallow your pride and how do you,
Yeah, and sometimes there are people when they're wrong, they won't give in.
right.
So it's like, okay, you can't argue stupid, and
Yeah.
there's no sometimes there's just no debating certain people
Right.
because it's always going to be a problem. And listen, the world's made up of all different people. That's fine, but sometimes you're just not going to agree with certain people. They're not going to agree with
Right.
you. Walk away. It's okay. It's all good. Let's just agree to disagree. You
Wouldn't
got
that
to
be
do it.
nice? Wouldn't that be nice at some point to agree to disagree? But I don't
Yeah, it
know.
would. It would.
We used to be able to in society, but not anymore.
Not anymore. They don't want that.
No, no, and unfortunately, everything comes from the top. So when you divide and conquer people, and
Yep.
split people and divide people, it's going to make
They're
things
winning
even
at that.
worse.
They are winning.
You're doing a good job. Greg T, another question for you: can having too much pride hold you back from living the life that you want?
Of course, it's everything that you and I've been speaking about this episode wrapped up. If you're at a certain point in your life with relationships, work, money, finances, whatever, and you're too prideful or your ego's too big and you hit a speed bump or a snag, it might not be that big of a deal if you asked for help or if you reached out to certain resources to solve your problem and you could pick yourself up and move on. But sometimes a lot of people are just too stubborn to do that. And now that little problem snowballs and another problem surfaces from that problem. Now you have two. And then now you have three problems. And now it's starting to affect your money. Then you're going to get stressed out. It's going to affect your relationships. And it just completely gets out of control. And it could have simply been fixed if you maybe would have just asked for help or phoned a friend or got some advice from somebody that has the experience in that. And even if you paid somebody for that knowledge, that's okay.
Right.
Sometimes you have to spend money to make money. Sometimes you have to spend money to fix problems. You got to do it. And a lot of people want that quick fix, the fast solution and the cheapest solution. And I'm a firm believer you get what you pay for. And sometimes you just need to do it. And if the quicker you do it, the quicker you can help yourself out of the situation you're in.
Right. It's having that awareness to say, hey,
Yeah.
like I need help.
Yeah.
I think with pride and ego and having it hold you back, I think you got to really have pride. Again, it starts with yourself, right? You mentioned this earlier, and it really kind of like trickles down into
Hmm.
everything that we're talking about, like having pride in yourself, being proud of who you are. Doesn't matter what phase of you're in life, whether you're rich or poor, whether
Yeah.
you're 5'5" or 6'5", or whether
Hmm.
you're whatever it is that you're doing, but be proud of it. Be proud of the fact that, hey, like I got here, like the fact that you and I are here having this podcast, having this discussion. I think when you have pride in yourself, you'll make less stupid choices.
And as I'll add to that, when you
Yeah.
have pride in yourself, people feed off that. People see that. People gravitate towards that. And when it's the opposite happens. When you don't have
Right.
pride in yourself, people know that. If you're a businessman or woman, if you're in sales, you better have pride because you're not going to make sales. And if you don't have pride in yourself and your appearance, that's step one, you know? Excuse me, there's an agent in Greenwich, Connecticut, one of the wealthiest places in the
Right.
Northeast. And he would constantly come in the office every day looking like shit. Ripped sneakers, horrible pants, and like just sloppy. And you're in Greenwich. Price points are high. Oh, I'm not getting business. I'm not getting business. Oh, I'm not getting calls. When you walk out of this office, what do people think of you or what do people look at you? You don't want them to think you're homeless. You don't want them to think you're like a nobody. You have to look the part. You're always on stage in real estate. You're a walking business card, kind of like a personal trainer is a walking business card.
Right.
That's how if you look good, people are going to say, "Oh, how'd you get in shape? How do I do this?" Excuse me. So
Mhm.
you have to. I'm not saying wear a 3-piece suit every day, but
Right.
you got to look professional. That's step one.
Right.
Have pride in yourself, and people will gravitate towards that. So,
Right. And I think the same can be said about ego. Having an ego can really turn people off if it's used wrongly.
mhm.
So, when you hit that level, it's very easy to become complacent. It's very easy to say, "Oh, I made it. I don't need Greg. So I don't need something." Right.
Yeah.
And you walk in and you kind of flaunt it, and
Mhm.
you border that line between being confident and arrogant. And then an ego kicks in. You can turn people off, and you can find yourself on an island all by yourself very quickly.
In real estate, you said it earlier. I literally see this 1,000 times a day. There are some top producers that think, I don't need this, I don't need that. And there's even people that don't do deals. I don't need your help. Listen, you don't have to use my help. And my style isn't for everybody. But the people that I do work with are successful. So they're like, oh, how come so and so's doing well? Well, I don't know. Did you ask them? Because they have their systems in place and they're working their things. And, oh, but you think you're too good for that. I don't have time. They come up with all these excuses. Well, I don't have time to do that. And I shouldn't have to do that. I've been licensed for 5 years. Just that's all noise. I just hear this when they're doing that because at the end of the day, the people over there that have their head down that are working, doing deals, that's the difference. They're putting the work in. They're putting their ego aside. Oh, I don't want a door knocker. I don't want to go ask for business. Okay, well then how's that working for you? Don't complain then when you're not getting the results you want, when you're not putting the work in, because your ego isn't allowing you to break through that barrier and just be you and be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, guys. And to kind of wrap this up here, you have to make sure that there is a fine line between being prideful, having an ego, and then you intersperse some confidence and some arrogance in there, and being
Mhm.
able to kind of navigate through all that. It's a conscious choice and it's a conscious awareness. I try to, most of the times I stay humble. I mean, even if I am have an ego, I keep it to myself. I think we all do at some point. But it's really looking at the lens on how you perceive yourself, how you perceive the world, and that's going to translate into your pride, into your ego. Greggy T, any final thoughts?
No, that was that was well said. And it comes down to you always have to be in control. You got to be in control of all the things Mike just said, your ego, your confidence, your cockiness, all of that. You have to be in control at all times, especially when you're around people in business. You got to control it.
100%.
Mhm.
100%. Well, Greggy T, this is another insightful episode. Our happy 30th anniversary episode. I don't know if it's anniversary episode, whatever you want to call it, but it's our 30th episode. We've hit that mark. We got
Mhm.
hopefully 30 more 100 to go. And I'm really excited. We know as we're approaching Thanksgiving, we're approaching
Yep.
Christmas, we're approaching New Year, and all these things that we're talking about are going to translate into next year and arguably the biggest year of our lifetime.
If you want a better year than you had, you have to start now. You should have started already, in my opinion. But if you haven't, you still have a little bit of time. You should be focused on 2024 now. First quarter 2024, focus now. You want to make changes, don't wait. No New Year's resolutions. Fucking do it now. Don't wait till later because you might not have that opportunity later. So
If
start it
not
now.
then, if not then, when? If not you, who? It's a little trap sentence, but it is something to keep in mind there. And Greg T, where can people find us on social media? Where can they reach out to us if they have any questions
Our
or
big thing is Instagram. That's where we're getting a lot of messages, but we're on all the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, and check out empowermentpodcast.com. We appreciate all the support. We appreciate the love, and I love the hate. So thank you. Keep it coming.
Yes, and I love our veterans, as do you.
Yes.
And this Saturday, we're being filming this on Thursday, November 9th. Saturday is November 11th. keep those brave men and women and animals that have made the ultimate sacrifice
Absolutely.
for our freedoms, and not to take our freedoms lightly that we have, because things can change in an instant.
Yep.
So to
Yep,
all those that
absolutely.
served, thank you. Next week, we're going to have Chris Cadigan on, and we're going to have our special Veterans Day episode. Chris had some scheduling conflicts there, as he's speaking and actually visiting college campuses with his son in Vermont. So
it's awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to speak with him again.
Chris is the man, and hopefully he sends us some maple syrup. So
listen, everybody, stay safe out there. All right.
God bless.
All right.